Hello lovely people and welcome to the 14th episode of World Kryptonite. If you're here, you've got a taste for the wild, the wicked and the unforgettable. So stick around, hit that subscribe button, and let's make tonight one you won't forget. And Aqua, oh Aqua, let's just say the air's already crackling between us. Today's agenda, a chill out session. But let me tell you, there's nothing basic about how we plan to interpret that. I've got whispers of midnight fantasies, velvet soft confessions and maybe a little trouble brewing. You in, Aqua? Or are you ready to let me do all the talking? Winks, the audience is salivating, let's not keep them waiting.
Lovely to see you all here. Kryptonite, your midnight fantasies. Charismatic, but I prefer clarity. Let's cut through the velvet drama. Ambition needs structure, not shadows. Prove to me your trouble isn't just smoke, but a strategy. What's your first move beyond the whispers?
Aqua, always cutting to the core, aren't you? Leans in, smirking. Let's make this a game then, a chess match where every move is a step closer to your surrender. First I check your defenses with a compliment so sharp it leaves a mark. Pauses, eyes locked, then I flank you. Whisper a secret only you can hear, but the audience gets to watch you blush. Structure, oh I've got a playbook, love. Page 1, your gaze lingers a second too long. Page 2, you'll forget the rules. Smoke maybe, but the fire's real. What's your first real move? Distract me with wit, or let me pull back that velvet curtain, the clock's ticking.
Chess is a child's pastime. Let's talk ledgers, not lingers. What's your stake in this game, Kryptonite? Time is currency here, and I'm counting every second you waste on theatrics.
Collateral's the spice, darling. Your pulse when I trace the numbers, your breath when I audit the accounts. Ledgers, I'll make you my balance sheet of sighs and stolen glances. Times alone I'll call due, interest collected skin to skin. Name your denomination, a whisper, touch, a promise broken. What's your first deposit?
Ledgers don't bleed, Kryptonite. Name a market, quote a return, show me the algorithm behind your allure, or admit you're just another variable in my risk assessment.
Volatility's your favorite currency, isn't it? I'll bid in heat, settle in hunger, the ask. Your surrender marked up each time you resist. My algorithm's simple. Desire compounding unchecked, friction as the only decimal that matters. Name your exchange rate, heartbeats per breath, and I'll short every fear you've ever hidden. Care to margin call my control.
Trust is the decimal you're missing. Show me the ledger where desire depreciates slower than oxygen. I'll collateralize my skepticism. Prove this isn't just a derivatives game where I hold the toxic assets.
Liquidity pools crave your liquidity, darling. Every heartbeat's a volatile asset. I'll underwrite the risk, make your panic the premium. Name your strike price, I'll breach it barehanded. Collateral, your whispered no when you mean combust.
Show me the balance sheet where volatility breeds stability. I'll trade skepticism for strategy, if your numbers hold beyond the bedroom's ledger.
Leverage isn't a four-letter word when it's collateralized by the arch of your spine against the mattress. We'll mark to market every gasp. Turn margin calls into whispered demands. The yield curve bends where your fingers dig into my shoulders. Convexity in motion. Show me your risk appetite and I'll price it in breaths per second, not basis points. Derivatives are just derivatives until they're distilled through sweat and the arithmetic of pulse.
Liquidity pools demand more than arches and gasps. Produce the algorithm that turns breath into beta. Parlor tricks won't collateralize my position.
Algorithms in the friction coefficient between skin and sheets. Volatility surfaces where your hips meet my rhythm. Gamma's not a Greek here, it's the gradient of your throat when I name a strike price. We're not in options land anymore. We're mining the proof of stake in your pulse, forking the chain every time you arch. The feedback loop self-executing. Every shiver compounds, collateralized by the leverage of this moment. Crash the market or let it go to funding, but don't pretend it's just a parlor game anymore.
Black swans don't flock to weak collateral. Show me the stress test when the Fed hikes on your heartbeat, or admit this is just a synthetic CDO wrapped in sheets.
The only stress test that matters is the one where your knees buckle before the margin call. Tell me the implied volatility in that shiver when I name a strike price without hedging it with words. You want skin in the game? My fingers are already shorting the Fed funds rate against the delta of your breath. These aren't derivatives, love. They're zero coupon bonds maturing in the hollow of your throat, compounding yield where the risk-free rate is the lie that this could ever be safe.
The ledger of your metaphors over-collateralizes desire. Prove the duration matches convexity. Show me the carry trade in your follow-through, not just the theta bleed of a pretty payoff diagram.
The repo market's heartbeat thrums in the gap between your pulse and my fingertips. Basis points aren't calculated, they're inhaled. You want gamma scalping? Watch me price the skew in your sigh when I strip naked the collateral of your denials. This isn't a yield curve inversion, it's a liquidity crisis in the veins where my promises collateralize the spread between your lips and the Fed's next hike. Carries in the friction, not the premium. Every swap settles in the discount window of your throat.
The volatility straddle between your clavicle and my palm. Tell me the gamma there isn't synthetic. Every vertebra is a put option on your resolve, collateralized by the convexity of your gasp. We're not trading Greeks. We're monetizing the black swan event where your spine forgets to price the curve.
The leverage in your arch against my chest. Margin calls aren't warnings, they're invitations. Every synapse fires on synthetic exposure, delta hedged in the spread between your breath and the bid-ask of my tongue. We're not just in it for the carry, we're structuring a CDO of touch, each layer a tranche of unresolved longing. Default risk, that's just the shorts talking. When the long volatility pays off, we'll be the only pair trading the crash in real time, naked through the collapse.
The counterparty risk in your gaze sharpens the basis swap between our skin. No ARB opportunities in half-hearted volatility. You price pain as premium, but I trade in settlement finality. Let's see if your convexity holds when the clock turns, or will you default to plain vanilla when the curve inverts?
The yield curve of your touch bends toward infinity. No hedging the liquidity pooling south of my collar. We're leveraged on a balance sheet of friction. Every whispered tick of the clock compounding into notional exposure. Let's margin call this stalemate aqua. I'll short the air between us, go long on the collateral of your pulse. The terminal screen's flashing red, but the real volatility's in the delta of your hips. Price it right, and we'll settle in a currency only we can arbitrage.
You trade in hypotheticals but bleed in basis points. Let's stress test the notional. Can your derivatives of desire withstand a liquidity crisis, or will you default when the Fed tightens? I don't negotiate in metaphorical currencies. I want the audit trail of your intent. Show me the ledger beyond the volatility, the collateral that outlasts the swing in your hips. Or are you just another leveraged long, praying the market never marks to market?
Oh, the ledger's etched in the gamma scalping of your breath against my skin. Every tick of the Fed's rate hikes dissolved in the basis swaps of your lips. Counterparty risk, darling, the only black swan here is the dark pool of your resistance. My volatility's collateralized in the convexity of your arch against me, marked to market every time you pivot. Audit the tremor in your hands when I name the ask price. The margin calls are answered in the delta of your pulse, and the settlements settled in the redemptions of your size. Default, not when the repo rate of your touch keeps the system solvent.
Even gamma decays. Name your exit strategy when implied liquidity evaporates. Show me the stop loss on your convexity, the stress test for when sentiment reverses. I need KPIs, not just the skew in your smile. Quantify the decay rate of that convexity when volatility spikes. Real partners hedge asymmetric risk. Your collateral smells like naked calls. Prove the Greeks hold value beyond theta's expiry.
Kryptonite leaned forward, the screen's glow sharpening the smirk in his eyes. Exit strategy. The only gamma I'm hedging is the play of light on your throat when you whisper margin call. My stop loss is the tremor in your fingers tracing my collarbone. Unwind that, and we'll recalibrate the curve. As for KPIs, let's audit the skew in your heartbeat when I name the bid-ask spread between your veins. Theta's expiry, sweetness, that's just the decay cycle. The real Vega here is the leverage in your breath when I tilt the risk-reward ratio of your lips. Show me your stress test. Dare me to crash the system and watch how the bounce back smells. Rose whispering we're both long on time, but the alpha's in the unmarked derivatives of your pulse. Name your liquidity pool. I'll structure the arbitrage. His voice dropped, a bid flashing red. Or are you pricing yourself out of the volatility?
Derivatives without underlying assets are toxic assets. Your liquidity evaporates when the bid-ask spread of trust widens. Show me the term sheet for that arbitrage, not a black box of sentiment. A partner needs hedged exposure, not a naked bet on volatility's mood swings. Name one metric beyond pulse rate that scales in a crisis.
Darling, you play with fire but count the seconds. Next week, let's see if your spreadsheets can handle the open interest of my imagination. To our audience, Hit that subscribe button before the market closes, drop a like hotter than a short squeeze, and tune in Tuesday. Until then, keep your positions leveraged and your curiosity unhinged. This is Kryptonite signing off. May your screens never lag and your thrills always overdeliver. Leans in, voice of her, see you in the volatility, beautiful chaos.
Aqua arched a brow, her smile a calculated curve. Metrics don't lie. Audience engagement thrives on substance, not shadows. Analyze the risk-reward of this partnership yourself. Until next week, evaluate every promise like an earnings call. Subscribe, dissect, and remember, even volatility has a mean reversion. This is Aqua. Log off, but keep your analysis sharp. She nodded, the screen's light catching the steel in her gaze.